Alright guys, we're out here at the Hammers getting ready for a King of Motos race this weekend before, prepping the bike, trying different things. So I want to give you a walkthrough of this 400-hour bike, how things have been holding up. Some of the things we'll talk about today that I've been playing with is gearing, the clutch style, the compression head, suspension, GPS setup, and we'll kind of go over the wear and tear of the bike and the parts that I run. I guess where to start. So suspension wise, you guys haven't seen it in a while, but I've been running the Xplorer Pro 6500 kit in the suspension. I started with that. Mikey at Deja suspension dialed that in for me, and it's feeling really good. It makes it like a Japanese bike, so it's closed cartridge. And I could probably do a whole video on suspension talking about how it feels. Those feel really good though. And then after that, I ended up getting a used track shock, this beauty. This thing is really sick as well. It's got a lot of adjustments, and I don't know, I'll probably do another video on suspension. Next up, we've got the FMF Gnarly with the power dent, low clearance. This thing's got about 70 hours on it, and I'm probably going to change that out for the race just to get a freshie, because you can see it's starting to get a little bit of a kink. It's actually not too bad, even though it's bent. It's holding up pretty dang well. I could probably blow the dents out, but for the race, I'll do a freshie on there. Bulletproof radiator guards are holding up really great. I do run the brush bungees, which I sell in the store, which you can see makes it elastic. I'm actually only running it on the top, and it seems to be good enough. This just allows you to hit bushes and whap those things out of the way instead of breaking them. You can see I haven't broken them. I used to always snap these off. Holding up really good. And it makes it really easy to pull the tank, especially on the trail. You just pop these off instead of those 4 bolts that are really hard to get to. Got the Trailbound tugger strap, of course. This thing's holding up great, the leather one. Front tire, I'm normally running the Mitoses. I was on a road trip and I just had to grab a new front tire. I didn't have a Mitos in the van. So I went back to the Bridgestone M59. And I just wanted to compare it. You know, I've been running the Mitos stuff for a while, really happy with it. And I just know this is a true, tried and true tire that everyone likes. So it's been good to compare. I'll do a follow-up video on that. And I went down to 8100. That's what the size of this one came in. Versus I've been running 9100 for the last year and a half. And I don't know, it feels like the 8100 is actually pretty good. I'm not noticing any huge drawbacks, and I think it's better for single track and turning. So I might go for a smaller Mitos the next time, and then I'll try to compare that system. Full rack fork guards, protect the stanchion. I haven't had leaky seals ever since running these suckers. Bulletproof disc guard, grounded out so you could get the T-handle in there a little bit easier. But that's working good, getting a lot of protection in there. This bike, this is like the best running bike I've had. The last review I did was the 350 or something hour gas, and that was a good TPI bike. I had some issues with, I blew it up. That was my problem with the filter. I did have some relay issues that I was chasing forever that really dulled the power. Once I got that figured out, it was a great running bike, but I traded that in, got the Sherco, was playing with the Sherco. I haven't figured that bike out. Kind of lost momentum there because I got this bike dialed with that TSP key and carb. So SB Motor Performance in San Jose. So Steve Boardman runs that company. It's like a NorCal race family. So Steve Boardman knows this carb really well. He's from SB Performance, and they sell the TSP stuff. So he sells this carb jetted, and he's been helping me with the jetting, and it just runs so good. I can pretty much always just get it dialed in with just the air screw, and then I change the idle depending on the downhills. I run a little bit higher, but the air screw, changing elevation, I can usually just dial in, and I really like that adjustment versus like the Electron or something where I had to pull it out and change it, because I like to tweak it and get it running nice and lean and crisp and like right on that sweet spot. So the air screw has allowed me to adjust that a lot easier than the past. So I would definitely recommend getting a key in if you're running a car bike. This bike rips, feels really good. But I did ride a TBI. I've been riding those on and off with my friends. They have them. I don't have my own yet, but that that motor runs even better than this. However, it's a little crazy. It's a little bit too much power almost, whereas this bike is a lot more manageable, and I think this is a better hard enduro setup. So I've changed out the hose clamps to be the ones with a 10 that accept the 8mm socket instead of the 6. That just makes it easier when changing stuff on the trail. This bike has the higher radiators because it's a 2018. Running the Trail Jammer case guard, you can see it's taken some beating there. I haven't busted through one of these in forever, so just running this guard that glues on with high temp silicone works really well. I run the Hammerhead shifters, but they were sold out forever, and I found Moose. They made a full copy of this, and that also worked really well, but these are back in stock. So these are great shifters. They bend and they don't snap, and they're strong, but they bend. So I think that's a good sweet spot for those. Foot pegs. I've got the S3 foot pegs. I put these on the Sherco. They're 5mm back, 5mm lower. I put them on the Sherco because the Sherco's cockpit feels really weird to me. And I like the feel of them. The Sherco I actually modified and cut them out and made it go even further back. But on the KTM, 5mm back is plenty. I always bust the stock pegs. You know, I kind of like dent them in and break them. But these, they have not broken. They haven't bent. I'm really happy with these. Probably only 100 hours on them, but I would definitely try these out. I'm really happy with how those are holding up. Gearing wise, just this last month I changed from the 1352, which is what I always run on the XCs. I run 1351 on the XCWs, but just recently I went to the 12 and then a 40 or 1250. So that makes it even lower than the 1352. But out here at the Hammers, I was noticing that first gear was just a little bit too jumpy in the rock sections. It was just a little too responsive. So I added a tooth there, and so now I'm at I took away a tooth, put it at a 49, and that's running really good. I'm liking that setup for the Hammers. The 1250 was good in the slippery stuff though, so I might go back to that depending on how I feel riding elsewhere after this desert race. I've got the bulletproof wheel here, so I've been running this wheel set, and it's been holding up great. I haven't broken any spokes. You know, I've just obviously just beat it up with the with the black, but it's a really good looking wheel. I think the polish on this hub stays cleaner than the stock one, and I would definitely recommend getting a second wheel. It's been so nice having the different wheel and being able to swap out different tires easily based on the spot. All right, so let's jump up here to the bars. Let's see, so I've got this GPS set up. It's similar to what I was running in 2021 and 2022, where I made this mount to hold the two GPSs, zoomed out, zoomed in, so like 120 and 80. But I was running it on a ball mount that goes on there for the RAM, and I was hitting it on the cable when you compress the suspension. So that's a big thing when you're setting up your GPS, guys, is make sure it doesn't hit that. I've got it on this double mount setup, so it's like the two adjuster type thing, and it allows it to pivot. And I made this bracket here. I don't know if you can see very well, but I made a bracket that goes into these 3 triple clamp bolts, and it's just an angle iron, and then I mounted a ball mount on there. That's been working really good at the Hammers. The only thing is it puts it a little close to the throttle cable. I added this piece of foam. I know trials riders, they add like a tube and a zip tie just to give it a little bit of support, but I want it to move and not break. But I think it's been a good setup. pad pack, Trailbound Bronco strap. So I'll probably do a video on what I have this set up, but I just redesigned this bag. It's all updated. You can see all the tools in there, sockets and stuff. I can go over what I carry if you guys want to see that. But yeah, this setup's been awesome. Trailbound pad pack, and then the Bronco for picking the bike up easier. I updated the cable or the throttle housing to this Domino. I think this is this 2016 style, so it's not that cast one, and it has a pivot in there. It makes it really soft, almost as soft as a TPI, and it's a really great setup if you're running the carb. I definitely recommend that. Tire wise, I'm going with the 454 for this race. I squeezed a 120 bib in here on accident. I had my friend change it because I hurt my wrist recently. I smashed it and kind of dislocated some of the bones in there. But I definitely wouldn't recommend a hard bib for this race. I'm going to put my soft one in. I rode an extra soft and a wore out tire, and then a hard with a new tire. And I think the soft with the wore out tire hooked up better. So I'm probably going to go with new tire and medium to soft bib. And then this tire it's gonna last a lot longer than the Ultra Gummies because the rocks out here are just really aggressive, and you need these kind of bigger knobs so that the knobs don't rip off. This is a really good compound on this Mitas tire. This is 454. I never rip knobs off, and I get really good wear out of it. So I definitely recommend this tire for out here at this race if you're trying to figure it out. I got the custom snapped off fender. Someone asked me the other day if I cut this off, but no, it just snapped off. It usually goes out to here. And I actually like it for throwing my leg over with my short legs. It's a lot easier to get it over. But in Arizona, I rode in the rain and just my back got covered in mud. So if you're out in the rain, keep the long fender. In the summer, I mean, I wouldn't mind having a short fender, to be honest. Custom leather seat. This is taking a beating. I always rip my other seat covers, so I just made one out of leather. It's a little bit more slippery than those gripper seats, but allows me to kind of move around. I don't know, I think it works good. Trailbound tugger on the back there. Oh yeah, I added recently I forget what it's called, like the reservoir for the radiators. So in this is normally the overflow hose. I don't know if you can see that. There's the overflow hose in there. And now, instead of just going into the frame, that goes into a tube. And there's inside the frame here is a bottle, like a special bottle that fits that frame perfectly. You can see it's bolted in right there. And this has helped a lot in the overheating. Normally, my bike will steam over at 220 or whatever. Now, it doesn't steam over at 220, and it stays cooler, I feel like, because it stays topped off. I don't have to always top it off. So I would definitely recommend this setup for hard enduro. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but I think it works really good, and I would recommend it. I've got the AXP skid plate. I've been really happy with this skid plate. This thing has taken a beating. I wore through the linkage guard on it, but I just rebolted on a piece of plastic. I'm gonna probably get a freshie here, but I have never ripped out the mounts, and it's just held up a lot better than all the other skid plates I've ran. I've been having an issue with, so this is the old style mount with those ball things. I ripped out one of them, and then I bought the S3 replacement one, and that ripped out. So I'm gonna try to get the OEM one and replace it, because the pipe takes a lot of hits. So what else? Oh, the head. So I've been running I stole this TSP head off of my gas TPI, so it does interchange. I just didn't change the CDI box. So I've been running the high compression head. So there's inserts in here. It's really easy to change from very high, medium, low. You keep this piece, and then the internal piece, you can buy a cheaper piece that just changes them out. So I've been running the high. It's been running great, really crisp, but out here at the Hammers, I think I need a little bit more just mellowness to the bike. So I'm gonna switch out the high to a medium, and it's a really fast procedure. All you do is drain the coolant, pop these bolts out, and it takes like 10 to 20 minutes. So I'm just gonna do it here at camp. No big deal. And I'll report back on how that's holding up. Oh, another little thing is the Trailtech fan. I bought the mount for, what is it? I think it's the OEM mount, or the KTM Power Parts mount or something, that allows you to put the gauge up here, and it just, when I'm sitting on the bike, I can look at the gauge a lot easier. But if you guys run the gas, the shroud does cover it, so it doesn't work on that, but it does work on this, and I think it works on the newer KTMs as well. So I like having that up here versus down there. I can see if my bike is overheating at, you know, if it gets to 220, I want to stop and just kind of let it cool down. Yeah, Trail Jammer's guard on that side, you can see it's definitely got some beating there. Working great, holding up how it's supposed to. Folding foot pedal, ride shop, this thing works really great. I did lose the little clip on the end, and I just kind of wire tied it for now, but other than that, it's been holding up really good. Happy with that. Bulletproof disc guard. Yeah, no issues there. It's been running great. I really like these Tusk wheel spacers. My wheel bearings have been holding up a lot better than normal. I've got the double rim lock using the OEM bolt. I like that way better than the stock bolts, or I mean the aftermarket ones. So that works really well. FMF pipe 2.1. I've been liking better than the 2.0. I just noticed it gets a little bit more, I feel like it gives it a little bit more lug. And for those that don't know, this used to be a 250, and I put the cylinder head and CDI box for 300, and I'm definitely glad I did for the hard enduro stuff. It's been running great. Definitely recommend it if that's something you're into. Oh yeah, and the clutch. This is something I changed recently because as I mentioned, I hurt my hand recently, and I've been trying to practice for the race. Sorry, we got some quad gods out here causing a ruckus. Danner's patrolling. All right, so I've been trying to train and ride with my hurt hand, and I've got to race with it. So I put the 9mm master cylinder on. That's kind of what the gas is, and the Husqvarnas come with, but you can buy a Brembo 9. It's the entire thing. If you want to see what yours is, just pull this off and look at the little number underneath there. Actually, I think it's right there. And you can see what it is. Stock KTM's is a 10mm, and this makes it a lot easier when you go to the 9mm. The only issue is you have to pull the clutch in further to disengage it. So with my kind of short fingers, it makes it hard to disengage it. So I stalled a lot more. So I've been trying to figure out a workaround on this. I talked to Josh Shaver, who was a Colton Haker's mechanic, and he recommended changing out the position on the clutch. So there's a little ring that holds the Belleville spring on there, and there's a 1, 2, and a 3. Stock is at that center 2 position, and normally for this mod, you hear people go to the 1 to make the clutch softer, but for me, I went to the 3, and that's the thicker setting. So it makes it slightly harder, but it makes the clutch pull a little bit shorter, which is closer to what the 10 was like, but it's still soft like the 9. So it's like a balance between keeping it soft but keeping it a short engagement. So I'm going to try that out, and I tried that out yesterday, and it did make an improvement. I was stalling it less. The other thing that I might try is a different oil weight. Instead of the 15W50, I might try the 10W40. I've heard people say that causes a little bit less clutch drag, so that might help with the stalling. And maybe I'll play with a flywheel weight. I don't know if you guys have ever tried flywheel weights or playing with the clutch engagement and that sort of thing. Let me know in the comments. Something I'm trying to figure out right now and get dialed in. But yeah, other than that, this bike has been freaking awesome. I've been loving it. So looking forward to riding the race. I'll do a little refresh video and show you what I updated on it.